Hey guys, welcome to another painting of mine. Um, this one is just some regular 140-pound cheap watercolor paper that I've pre-wet. And once again, starting with lights to darks on my sky, kind of leaving the little sun super light area in the middle. I wanted to try maybe doing a little sunset, adding some blue in there. Might be a little wet on this paper. Just dabbing around some colors and seeing what fits, but I'm trying to stay out of that little center area to see if I can get some sort of effect out of that. A little darker yellow. I think that was an accident. I didn't mean to go that dark. Blend that down and then kind of take some paint away with a clean dry brush. Blend it down a little bit more, add some color to the bottom because there's going to be a uh, lake in here, so maybe a little reflection. Take away some of that. Maybe a horizon line is what I was trying to do here, but it just kind of, it mostly got covered up anyway. Let's see, starting with some blues, adding way too much water again. I can never learn my lesson on this. Maybe one day I'll get it down, but it looks pretty neat, kind of random. And you can see I'm trying to correct my mistake with a paper towel, and most of it comes up. There we go, a little cleaner. There's my head in the way, nice job. And trying to remove some of that paint out of that sun last minute before it dried, and it looks pretty good. I think the sky came out pretty interesting on this one. I definitely learned something new um, with removing that paint with a towel or a clean dry brush. And like I have been saying in past videos, this is all just a lesson to me because I have no idea what I'm doing. So I guess the best way to learn, for me at least, is to just get after it and see what mistakes you made and try not to make them on the next one. So you can see I've dried my paper just a little bit because it was still too wet, trying to add some darker tones in the front here. I think all those lighter tones get covered up anyway. And let's dry it again. I'm learning. There we go. Nice and dry, so I'm able to actually get some color on there. And it looks like we're doing some sort of red orange color in the back. That looks kind of neat, but I think most of this is going to get covered up with some blue. And we're going to add a nice big tree up front here. No rhyme or reason. I'm just putting random things on paper. And these aren't, expensive paints. This is not expensive paper. Just kind of going and seeing what works with some nice cheap stuff to learn with. And a nice big tall tree right there. Random shapes. That's all I'm going for. Maybe just a suggestion of a tree. And another one right there. Another giant tree. I kind of wish I didn't cover up most of that um, orange color I had going on right behind that tree. I don't know what the point of that was, but it kind of looked good with the hints of orange back there. I just covered everything up with blue, and don't know why I did that, but it turned out okay anyway. This painting is going to be a good example of what not to do and when to maybe stop before you add too much. There's another one right there. I just covered up all that interesting stuff I did in the background. and it kind of bled over to that other tree. Um, just overworking the picture can be an issue. Here we go. Gonna add some water to the bottom, get a little fuzzy area for um, the reflections in the water, I think is what I was trying to go for. Once again, too much water. Let's soak that up. And not too bad. Little subtle reflections. I think I tried to add some color into the water because it was kind of naked. But I just did that too late. Adding the sky colors after the fact is not a good idea because everything will turn green with this blue. So I'm just adding some shapes in the water for some trees, in the reflections. Not too happy with that, but it doesn't look terrible. Yep, trying to add some random shapes in there. Still doesn't look great. This part didn't turn out too bad. I think right here is where I should have maybe stopped, but I just kept going, trying to get it to look better and better, and I just kept overworking it. Like right there would have been a good stopping point, but I just had to keep going. So, lesson learned on this one, don't try and overwork it. Trying to add some subtle waves that ended up being really large for what I was trying to accomplish. And I think I was at the point where it was just accept my fate and see if I could make it look any better than what I currently had. I think right here was a good spot. I could have stopped also. It didn't look too bad with that darker blue for that reflection. I think that could have fixed it. And I just went and dabbed it up with a paper towel. So I figured I'd abandon that for now and maybe work on the little pieces of land and the trees, some of the grasses in there. And I just decided to try and blend all that together to see if I could salvage this painting. Spray a little water and dry it off a little bit, see if I can start fresh. I think this is one of my biggest challenges, is the reflections in the water. Some people make this process look so easy, but to me, it's pretty difficult to pull off. So I'm gonna have to keep practicing. Not bad there. That's turning out a little bit more how I wanted it. And because I don't have a liner brush yet, I have my little ink marker trying to make some nice little grassy indications in there. It's kind of hard to see with all that blue, but I think on the edge it turned out pretty good. So it's not so plain in the middle. And a couple little birds up there flying around, enjoying that nice sunset. And a little trick I saw before for water reflections, it's kind of hard to pick up on this overhead camera view, but if you scrape away some little indications of white reflections, it looks pretty good, but this was a little difficult for me to pull off. Then I made the bold choice of trying to work it even more and splatter some reddish rust colored paint on it, realized I didn't like it, and dabbed it off so at least it would look a little more subtle. But the best part, untaping those edges. And all in all, I think this one turned out pretty neat. It's not a bad painting, but it was a great lesson in what not to do.